Now that Kamala's the best thing since sliced bread, despite being wildly unpopular previous in her own lay party and as the most unpopular VP in American history. No, now the polls would have you believe that she is neck and neck with Trump. Believe it or not, yes. This latest poll to come out is exactly asking you to believe that she is. It's 50-50, guys. It's down to the wire. We don't know who's going to get it. She's just that popular all of a sudden. Now, the Trump campaign has come out and called this a furphy. Senior campaign advisor Brian Hughes has said the fake news media continue to help dangerously liberal Kamala hide her record of economic failure and soft on crime policies. Now, as this analysis shows, they'll even put a finger on the scale of polling to inflate results for her. Now, this wasn't dissimilar to a poll that came out just last week. It was a Reuters Ipsos poll that also had her so close to Trump. Everyone was like, shock poll, shock poll. I'm like, it's really not a shock poll once the media machine gets behind a candidate. And that poll showed, once you scratch beneath the surface, they had, of course, achieved this by oversampling Democrats. So in that poll, they'd sampled 426 Dems versus 376 Republicans and 341 independents. So you can already see that slight inequality there that they're relying on to bump up a poll that is like shock poll, they're neck and neck, you guys won't believe what's happening. But I don't believe how this is doing the Kamala campaign any favours. They don't have mandatory voting over there. So if you're telling Democrat-minded people, actually, she's doing really well, she's kind of got this in the bag, they may not even venture out to the polls.
Yeah, I don't see what is to be gained in inflating any polls, and I don't see what's to be gained for the Trump campaign to complain about polls, even if they are inflated. As you know, we often hear leaders in this country say, you know, there's only one poll that matters, and that's the one on voting day. And it's a bit cliche, but it is the reality, right? Yeah. All the other polls that come before, they don't matter. The only poll that matters is the one on election day. So, you know, if they're diddling polls, I don't know if they're trying to get into this manifesting business, which is, you know, some sort of mental trick. Do you remember that book, The Secret? And I think they then turned it into a TV series, right? They did. All about how you imagine things and then they come true. And people would tell stories about how when they go to the shopping centre, they imagine that there's going to be a car park 3 spots up from the front door, and then magically there's a car park there. I don't know whether they're thinking, gee, if we just make the polls look like Kamala's going to win, then it means Kamala's going to win. I'm sorry, the world just doesn't work like that. So I can't see what there is to gain from it. And we know that even if you are trying to manifest these things into being, let's just go back to 2019 here in this country, where, of course, News Poll, all the polls said that it was just going to be a walkover Labor victory. And Sportsbet, I remember at the time, paid out everyone who had a bet on Labor a week before the election because they thought it was just done and dusted. There was no way the coalition was going to win. And then, of course, it went very differently on election night. Now, the polling methodology has been changed significantly in Australia since then. And News Poll in particular, if you look at the subsequent elections, has been very close to the mark. But if you're diddling it, who for? What for? There's nothing to be gained out.
Well, I wonder if they've got 2 stages to this, right? And they're still in the first stage where they're trying to convince everybody that Kamala Harris is a legitimate candidate and they're right to put her there. Because we all laughed. We thought it was a great joke that they might actually go with Kamala Harris. They've done that, and now they're trying to convince us, no, she's legitimate. The whole country believes in her. Look how well she's doing in the polls. And then what they should do is they should, as they get closer to the election, then start to warn Trump's going to win this if you don't get out and vote, and make themselves the underdog. Have a listen to former Obama advisor David Axelrod, I love that surname, advising that Trump is the man in pole position and it's his election to lose. Clearly, he wants the Democrats to be underdogs because that will motivate people to get out and vote.
It is absolutely Trump's race to lose right now. He is ahead, and he is ahead in most of the battleground states. They're close. They could be won by either candidate. But there is a lot to be determined in the next 90 whatever days, 96 or whatever it is left.
So the Dems want to be the underdog, and Trump should want to be the underdog as well. Also, I don't think it helps Trump focusing on things like fake polls, you're rigging the polls. Focus on his record for 4 years as president and focus on Kamala Harris's non-existent record as vice president. And it doesn't help Trump to be talking about conspiracy theories and they're rigging the polls. Even if they are doing that, I think people are over all that kind of stuff. Talk about what you're going to do as president as compared to Kamala Harris, and make yourself the underdog so that people are motivated to get out and vote.
If I was on the Trump campaign, I'd just be like, do not be telling people that these polls are in any way tampered with.
Yeah.
Because if they believe that she could actually beat us, they are going to campaign like never before. They are going to donate like never before. They are going to put fire under our feet.
Yeah.
And we need that boost. Let's have it. Let's have it. Like, you're really energizing the Trump base, which also begs the question why Kamala's people would want this, especially at this stage. I mean, it's very early on in the honeymoon stage. She will get a boost after the DNC once she officially becomes the nominee at the end of their national conference, which is coming up this month. Her honeymoon period this is just the early stages. It's only going to get better for her as the Kamala hysteria, the good kind of hysteria, really continues to build her up more. Trump can weaponize that. Instead of saying, oh, it's fake, just roll with it. It's all true. So we need you guys. We need you guys to get out there and vote. We need you guys to donate, etc., etc. I don't understand why they're now focusing on pointing out the fact that they're being...
And I don't think the polling at this point in time is that unbelievable either. I mean, everything these days gets sort of broken down into an acronym, right? I'm going to call it ABB. The phenomenon is anyone but Biden, right? And so Dems, even though it's Kamala Harris, are just like, it's not Joe Biden. Anything is better than Joe Biden. And that's why they've had such a surge of donations after Kamala replaced him as the presumptive candidate. Because it's like, OK, at least we've got someone here who, even though the words they string together are a bit ordinary, they can actually they can actually get a sentence out without, like, freezing on stage. It doesn't make a great deal of sense, but she doesn't freeze on stage. And so she has that sort of momentum by not being Biden behind her that, as Liz just said, will pick up again after the DNC. The question is whether or not she can sustain that through until November.